So we all know the definition of asexuality, right? Asexuality is not or rarely experiencing sexual attraction. But what the is sexual attraction? Figuring out you're asexual can be a really complicated process. It is a difficult one for many of us, and there are a lot of reasons for that. There are many things in the world and in our culture that are working against us figuring out that we're ace. There are cultural messages all around us telling us what is expected, what is natural, what we should be feeling, what we should be experiencing. There are messages we get from the people within our lives, inside our interpersonal relationships, that are pushing us in specific directions, telling us that we should be feeling the same thing. It's what everybody feels. We should just come along. And most importantly, it is sometimes really difficult for us as asexual people to read our own experience in the right way. We don't have a lot of outside support, right? We're not taught how to read asexuality in ourselves. So we often deal with the experiences and feelings that we have inside ourselves in ways that are really confusing. We just don't know how to read them. One particular sticking point is sexual attraction. And understanding what sexual attraction is sits at the heart of the definition of asexuality, right? Not or rarely experiencing sexual attraction. Well, it sometimes can be really hard to fit yourself into that definition or see yourself in that definition if you are having a hard time understanding exactly what sexual attraction is. So in this video, I wanted to talk about sexual attraction, talk about ways for us to identify it, how we can understand it in a way that might help us read our own experiences, and also offer a little bit of encouragement for you to make that decision about whether or not you are experiencing it, because, spoilers, you're the one with the power. Why is this so hard? I think there are two main reasons why figuring out whether or not we are experiencing sexual attraction as asexual folks is so complicated. First, it's a question of language. When we are thinking about human sexuality, there are so many feelings and emotions and experiences that take place within this idea of human sexuality, and we have so few words to describe them. A lot of the words we use to describe feelings and experiences around human sexuality are used to mean a lot of different things. Things like desire, things like pleasure, things like attraction. They're used as catch-alls to describe a lot of different kinds of things. So the language, while existing, is muddy and imprecise. When I say attraction, I may be meaning something very different than when you say attraction. When I say desire, I might mean something very different than when you say desire. But we're stuck with using those words because we don't have a more nuanced language. And that can make it hard to understand if what I mean is what you mean and if we are meaning and feeling the same thing. The second problem is our notion of attraction, our understanding of it. We culturally think of attraction as one big experience that contains a lot of different components. When we say attraction, we generally mean we are sexually attracted, romantically attracted, intellectually attracted, physically attracted, like all kinds of attractions, kind of all looped in one when we say I'm attracted to someone. The problem with that understanding is, while true for some people, not true for everyone. Attractions, the different kinds of attractions, can be pulled apart and can exist and work separately. You might be familiar with that idea. It's the split attraction model. Different kinds of attractions: sexual, romantic, sensual, emotional, intellectual. All of these different kinds of attractions can operate independently, and some can exist while others don't. This is often true in asexual people. So it is difficult for us to understand the nuance of our particular experience of attraction when all we are fed and taught is that broader, more generic understanding of attraction that just includes everything in one experience. Breaking down sexual attraction. So when I was first figuring out whether or not I was ace, this was one of the sticking points for me. I was having a hard time knowing whether or not I experienced sexual attraction. What I came to find out is I was often confusing aesthetic attraction or intellectual attraction and sometimes even sensual attraction for sexual attraction, which I, as an ace person, just don't experience at all. It was a long, hard road to get to. It took me a while to figure this out. But what helped me parse it out was breaking this confusing notion of sexual attraction, which I really just couldn't wrap my head around, into three separate components: arousal, libido, and attraction. So arousal is the physical experience your body is having when it's waking up to the idea of sex. Arousal is a thing that's happening right now. It's in the moment, happening inside your body as you are experiencing it. Important thing about arousal, the experience of arousal is something that happens in you. You're the only person who's a part of arousal. Arousal can happen with some cause, arousal can happen for no reason at all, but it's important to think about arousal as a thing that's happening right now, and it is a thing that is happening in your body. It's physical. Libido describes something different. You can think about libido as describing the frequency and intensity of your experience of arousal. So, how often is arousal happening? How intensely does it happen for you? The intersection of those two things make up our libido. So, if you're a high libido person, that means that you frequently are experiencing arousal and it is happening at some kind of high intensity. If you're a low libido person, that means maybe it isn't happening very frequently at all. Maybe it's not happening at all. Or it is being experienced at a very low level, like the intensity is really low. That would be a low libido. Again, important to note that libido is describing something that is just about you. We haven't even gotten other people yet. To talk about it metaphorically, if arousal is a song on the radio, libido could be the volume button. Important to note here that arousal and libido are both things that exist in people who are allo or ace. Certainly, we understand that arousal and libido happen for allo folks because they're out there doing the thing, but arousal and libido can also be experiences that are experienced by ace people. Arousal and libido do not determine your sexual orientation. That is the job of attraction. So you can think about attraction as describing direction. Attraction talks about where our libido is going. Who is it directed towards? In what direction is it moving? This is where other people come in. So for allosexual folks, that direction is towards someone of some gendered experience. Heterosexual, that direction is in someone of a different gender from you. If you are gay, that means it's being directed towards someone who shares your gender. For bi folks, it's directed to people of two or more genders. For pan or omni folks, it could be any gender. So for asexual folks, we can think about that direction as being no direction. Asexuality is an umbrella of experiences in which the experience of arousal, the libido that one has, isn't necessarily directed in any particular way. Maybe it is only directed at yourself. Maybe you only want to have cool, spicy vibes with yourself. Maybe it's just directed nowhere at all. Maybe it is only directed in some place under very specific circumstances, but otherwise no direction. And this also includes people who don't have an experience of arousal and don't have a libido. So there is, of course, if you don't have those things, no direction for any of that non-stuff to go. So in a very simplified way, when we think about whether or not one is experiencing sexual attraction, it's not necessarily important for us to think, well, do I have like sexy feelings? Am I having like libidinous thoughts? What's more important is, are we thinking, well, if I do have those experiences or feelings, are they directed at anyone? Do I want them to go somewhere? Am I particularly compelled for those experiences to go to some other person? If that answer is no, and really any expression of that can be included in this, that could be under the ace spectrum. Important to add here that this also includes people who are gray, people who are demi, people who are ace flux, who may in some part of their experience, they may experience and do experience sexual attraction, but there are significant components of their experience in which they are not, because sexual attraction, that direction appearing, requires some very specific circumstances that are not necessarily true for allo folks. It's ultimately up to you. Now, before you go getting all anxious about whether or not you can fit your experience or non-experience of sexual attraction into the framework that I just talked about, I want you to take a moment, take a breath. When it comes to sexual attraction, any kind of attraction really, and the identities you embrace based on your experiences of those attractions, it is ultimately up to you. You get to be the ultimate authority on whether or not sexual attraction is a thing that you are experiencing and whether or not it's a thing that happens in your life. Because ultimately, the only person who knows what's going on inside your body and inside your mind and inside your heart is you. No person outside of you, no book or video or external framework that exists outside of you knows more and has the ability to make decisions about what's happening in you than you. And while frameworks like the ones I presented or other frameworks that others present might be useful in helping you think about whether or not you are experiencing sexual attraction, whatever you ultimately decide is true about your experience is the truth. If you look at your life and experience and say, well, you know what? I don't think I experience sexual attraction. Well, then that's true. That's what's happening. It's really important for you to trust your own authority on your own experience. So ultimately, use frameworks like this as a guide, but that ultimate decision is one for you to make, and it's one you should feel empowered to make. And not just make, but also stand behind. The really wonderful thing about human experience is that ultimately all of it is fluid. Change is always possible within a human experience. So what you decide today is not something that must be true forever and ever until you are no longer on the planet. What is true for you today may not be true tomorrow, may not be true 6 months from now, may not be true 6 years from now, and that is totally fine. You can just adopt a new truth. So don't feel pressure that your decision today is irreversible and irrevocable, because it is. You can always make another decision later. But feel in control and within your power to decide for yourself whether or not sexual attraction is something you experience. So if you are feeling a little frustrated that this didn't give you very clear-cut answers, I apologize for that frustration, but that is kind of how it is. Our individual experiences of human sexuality can be confusing. They're almost inherently confusing. Not every person experiences or feels the same thing. So kind of every notion that we have about human sexuality are generalizations, right? They're approximations. So while there are no clear-cut, definite answers here, I hope you do feel empowered to at least make answers for yourself about your experience. If you enjoy the video, I hope that you subscribe, and if you would like to get some bonus content, you can always become a member of the channel, or you can join me over on Patreon, where you can get discounts for workshops, and you can get bonus videos all the time. You can also find me in a bunch of other social media places. I hope I see you over there, and if not, I will see you in the next video. And as always, I'm glad you're here. Quick thank you to my Patreon subscribers who make videos like this possible. If you want to join the fun there, you can get bonus videos, early access to videos here, and discounts on workshops. Or if you just want to support me here, my YouTube channel memberships offer members-only shorts, early access to future videos, loyalty badges, and custom emojis for comments. Links are in the description for Patreon, or hit the join button.